afternoon, Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, and colleagues and friends from Abu Dhabi. It's a great pleasure to be here and talk with you about the future of AI. And I would like to say from the beginning, I am a scientist, and so this is the corner of the world I'm coming from. And it's incredibly thrilling and exciting to see the progress AI has made in science just in the last couple of months. And so you may have heard about the results that were produced by Google in terms of using AI to improve weather forecasting. This is exciting, and you've probably followed what DeepMind has been doing in terms of using AI for protein folding. So I see there is unimaginable change just the way we're doing science and the way AI has become a tool that scientists are now beginning to embrace, which can help us. And so I believe in science change all the things that we're doing in the future. So that's where I'm coming from, but we can talk about more. And sorry, I was hopefully not monopolizing. Carmen, so you're next.
Yes, thank you very much. It's a great pleasure to be here. It's my first time in Abu Dhabi Finance Week, and it's amazing the lineup of speakers and the hot topics you are raising, and very relevant that you have invited us to talk about the opportunities of AI, because sometimes we only think about the risks and the downside of this technology development. And I would like to focus first on the AI opportunities. You have just mentioned the important advancements on scientific research that AI is bringing to the fore. And of course, we have also great opportunities on AI, which have to do with access to knowledge, with acceleration also on sustainable development goals like a fight against hunger, with the increase of productivity of crops in agriculture, and also in unique opportunities in health care space. But I would say that this is not yet another technology revolution. It has some unique characteristic that makes it different. I would say number one is its pervasive nature. It's going to affect absolutely all the industries we know, with hyper-automation, with productivity gains we have never seen. And for the first time ever, this technology also affects creative industries, while previous technology revolution were not affected things that were considered a basic for human creation. Second important thing is that almost every use of AI can be of dual use, which is affecting also geopolitics, and it's affecting safety and, I would say, defense. And the other is that it's not only affecting production and economy means, it's affecting society, affecting integration of information, affecting credibility and trust in institutions. And last but not least, is the only technology we have known up to date that can evolve without human agency. And this is posing a lot of ethical questions to keep human in the loop. And I think that is why we need some time of governance of AI, because if we leave this ungoverned, we are not going to be able to capture all these huge opportunities. I don't know if you agree on that, Professor Host.
Yeah. So I think I was going to say that the future of AI, we can look at three factors: technological, global, and social. And what my colleague Carme was just alluding to is the global and social challenges. And let me first talk about the global challenges. AI is currently concentrated in the hands of a few. And we have some organizations, as Dr. Ebtesam was talking about, like AI for Good, which are wonderful because they are aiming towards implementing the UN development goals. So that's great, but I think we generally have to make sure that the benefits of AI are equitably distributed, and therefore it is important to engage in global collaboration to make sure that everybody can benefit from this. And so organizations like AI for Good are absolutely important to do this. I think maybe I shouldn't lecture too long and let you take from here.
Yes, I think that's important. I mean, the great speaker was mentioned that already. Sometimes there are three important topics that are interrelated, but sometimes we mix them, which is ethics, governance, and regulation. I think we all would agree that we want an ethical development of AI by developers, by implementers, by users. These users or the developers can be corporations or governments. We all agree on that there are plenty of ethical guidelines. You have just mentioned the G7 Hiroshima guidelines on ethical generative AI. We have the UNESCO ethical guidelines. I have counted more than 70 different private company guidelines. And ethics is nice to have, but there is no right and no accountability based on these voluntary commitments of ethics, because ethics is subjective and it can vary from country to country and society to society. So the important thing is not ethics. The important thing is governance. What does governance mean? It means what are the instruments we need to put in place to ensure that the technology is developed and used ethically. And that generates accountability, and that generates guarantees and rights. And regulation is one instrument to achieve governance, but it's not the only one. We can achieve governance through transparency, through voluntary commitments, through scientific, for example, transparency, because you have just mentioned a very important point. This technology has not been developed by academia, unfortunately. It's in the hands of very few powers because it has been developed by R&D departments of very few companies. Why? Not because the academia didn't have the talent, not because the academia didn't have the money, it's because it didn't have access to data. So based on the monopoly of data, we are building the monopolies of AI. And these technologies are very powerful, but they are in a black box. And there is no way to know what is within. Until we ask for transparency, this is not going to be adopted mainstream. And we are here because we firmly believe that all the huge investment in infrastructure will pay back one day. And they are not going to pay back if this is not adopted mainstream by all the industry. And we cannot adopt it mainstream without trust. That's number one. And I think the other part on legislation, and I've been a leading negotiator in the AI Act, is that legislation is important. Finance sector will be regulated, that's without doubt. For example, we are regulating in Europe also property rights around digital assets. We need to protect cultural heritage, we need to protect the work of artists and authors, and that should be through protecting digitally their work and preventing them from being used without their permission. So there are areas like healthcare that there is a need for regulation, but it's not the only way forward for governance. And I think UAE is a right place where we can experiment with a smart regulation, which is not hampering innovation, and with creating a blueprint of governance that allows for economic development.
I would like to connect to what Carmen just said on the topic of data. As we all know, AI is computing, algorithms, and data has become more and more important. But if we currently look at the way we're dealing with data is, they are privately owned and locked up. And if we really want to make progress, we need to find a better way of sharing and communicating data. I'm not saying just make it all free and open, but figure out a way how to actually, let's say, charge for the use of data appropriately, create a true data marketplace, make data a commodity that can be traded with. And I would like to put this out here in this forum, because there are a lot of people here, they creatively think about how to create instruments to make things tradable. And I think we just have not yet figured out how to do this for data. So in my mind, I can imagine a future where on the internet you can access data and you pay a little bit and you can get access to whatever you need. And I think that would address many of the concerns that are currently that some big companies have the monopoly on data and some others are exploiting your creative talents because what you put out on the internet is free. I think this is a big change we have to address in the future. And AI will drive us to do differently.
I totally agree. You've raised a very important point. We need availability of data, data sets and frameworks that are curated, that are reliable and representative. Because one of the important global governance gap we have is lack of inclusiveness. Lack inclusive in representative data. For example, all the AI we know has only been trained by data from the global north. So we have the risk of a new techno-colonialism, bringing here the global south or other ecosystems with non-representative data. And this lack of representativeness and misrepresentation can lead to missed opportunities. So we really need to build local ecosystem with representative data and access to local talent and local computing infrastructure. That is your subject of expertise. So we don't have one single supercomputer in the world in the global south. How are we going to encourage these new entrepreneurial ecosystems if we don't have access to computing power?
Yes.
We need to share those infrastructures,
we need to share all of this. And I wanted to just use the last minute or so to raise another important topic that's close to my heart. And this is the social aspects of AI. As AI becomes more powerful, you have to think about AI as a partner, as a collaborator, a colleague at work. Now, if we all, as humans, want to stay on par with AI, I think we have to raise our level of education, in particular, quantitative education. So you don't have to be as smart as AI, but you have to understand numbers. And I know there was just recently an OECD study which looked at the quantitative skills across OECD countries. And it was very disappointing how little adults know about mathematical or quantitative thinking. And so if we want to thrive in the age of AI, education has to be changed and address a future of working collaboratively with AI.
Totally agree. And my last word would be, if we want really to capture the great opportunities of AI, we should understand that we should govern AI for good, as you have just said, for the good of humanity, ensuring that we solve the lack of inclusiveness gaps we have today, that we allow for international collaboration, not only for data flows with trust, which are really the engine for this economy, but also that we protect the use of AI against intended misuses and unintended misuses, in terms of safety, in terms of health, and in terms of fundamental rights. We from the United Nations have made some proposals in the area of transparency, like an international scientific panel, like an AI governance policy dialogue to agree on a global framework of risks. And also we have encouraged the creation of global fund for AI to really invest in local ecosystems and in solutions that use AI for the achievement of sustainable development goals.
Great. I will just finish because the clock says 0. With a final thought, and I just want to say I am excited that I'm still as young as I am. That is, I still anticipate to experience all these wonderful things will happen in the next 10 or 15 years. And so this is going to be an exciting ride, and I'm glad that I can experience it.
Thank you very much.